She looked down at the menu, then at the candle between them, and finally at the exit, as if calculating how fast she could disappear without being noticed. Her fingers trembled slightly as she pushed the leather-bound list of prices back toward him and whispered, almost to herself, that she couldn't afford this date. In that small, elegant restaurant where glasses chimed softly and couples leaned close over shared desserts, her words felt louder than the music. They carried the weight of pride, fear, and years of learning to survive without asking anyone for anything. He didn't flinch. He didn't look embarrassed. Instead, the single dad across from her did something that stunned her so deeply it would change both of their lives forever. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of people who show up when it matters most, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that even ordinary evenings can become life-changing moments. Daniel hadn't been on a date in nearly 5 years, since the night he held his wife's hand in a hospital room that smelled of antiseptic and unspoken goodbyes. His world had narrowed to 2 small hands that needed him more than he needed his own grief. His daughter Lily had been only 3 at the time, too young to understand why mommy wasn't coming home, but old enough to cry for her in the middle of the night. Daniel learned how to braid hair from YouTube tutorials at 2 in the morning. He learned how to pack lunches shaped like hearts so Lily wouldn't feel different from other kids. He learned how to swallow his own loneliness because little eyes were always watching, and they needed to see strength. Money was tight. Daniel worked as a maintenance supervisor at a mid-sized apartment complex, taking extra shifts whenever pipes burst or tenants locked themselves out at midnight. Every dollar had a destination before it even reached his bank account. Rent, school supplies, dance classes because Lily loved to spin like she could outrun sadness. There wasn't room in his budget for fancy dinners or new clothes for himself. His jackets were older than some of the tenants he helped. His shoes had been resoled twice. But when his coworker insisted he download a dating app and at least talk to someone, Daniel surprised himself by agreeing. That was how he met Maya. Maya's profile picture had shown her laughing in the rain, hair plastered to her cheeks, eyes bright with something defiant. She worked as a nursing assistant at a rehabilitation center and cared for her younger brother after their parents died in a car accident 3 years earlier. Daniel didn't know all those details at first. He just knew that when they messaged each other, the conversations felt easy. She asked about Lily before she asked about him. She sent voice notes when Daniel was too exhausted to type. She told him about her long shifts and how she sometimes sat in her car after work just to breathe before going inside to cook and help with homework. Their first date was supposed to be simple: coffee at a small cafe near the park. But that afternoon, Daniel received a bonus he hadn't expected. The complex owner had sold the property and distributed small appreciation checks to longtime employees. It wasn't life-changing money, but it was enough to cover a few months of Lily's dance classes and maybe, just maybe, one special evening. Daniel stared at the check for a long time before making a decision that scared him more than any plumbing emergency ever had. He called the restaurant he had once passed on his way home, the one with soft golden lights and white tablecloths, and made a reservation. He wanted to give Maya something she probably never allowed herself to have. When she arrived that night, she wore a simple navy dress and shoes that had clearly seen better days but were polished carefully. Daniel noticed the small patch near the strap, stitched neatly with thread that almost matched. He noticed everything, because that's what he did as a father. He observed, he calculated, he anticipated needs before they were spoken. But even he hadn't anticipated the look on her face when the host led them to a table by the window. Her smile flickered, not because she wasn't impressed, but because she was. And then, halfway through looking at the menu, she said it. She couldn't afford this date. Daniel saw the shame behind her calm tone. He recognized it because he had felt it before. The time Lily needed new sneakers and he had to put them back on the shelf until his next paycheck. The time he declined a coworker's invitation to a weekend trip because gas money alone would stretch him too thin. Pride and poverty dance a complicated waltz. You want to stand tall, but numbers keep pulling you down. What stunned Maya was not that Daniel laughed it off or told her not to worry. It was that he gently took the menu from her hands, closed it, and said quietly that he hadn't invited her there to split a bill. He told her that he knew what it felt like to calculate every bite before you ordered it. He told her about nights when he ate cereal so Lily could have the last of the chicken. He admitted that the only reason he could afford this evening was because of an unexpected bonus, and he had chosen to spend part of it on this dinner because he believed she deserved a night where she didn't have to think about money at all. He didn't say it in a way that made her feel small. He said it like a confession, like an offering of shared vulnerability. Maya felt something inside her loosen, something that had been clenched since the accident that took her parents. Since then, she had been the responsible one, the strong one, the provider. She worked double shifts, skipped meals, wore old clothes, and told her brother that everything was fine even when her bank account dipped dangerously low. She had gone on a few dates in the past, but the moment money entered the conversation, men either made jokes about her baggage or subtly suggested she should aim lower. No one had ever looked at her financial struggle and seen courage instead of inconvenience. Dinner that night was not extravagant in the way luxury is usually measured. The plates were beautiful, yes. The food tasted like something crafted with care. But what made it extraordinary was the honesty that flowed between them. Daniel talked about Lily's first school play and how he cried harder than she did. Maya described the patients she cared for and how holding an elderly woman's hand during physical therapy sometimes felt like holding her mother's hand again. They didn't try to impress each other. They simply revealed themselves. As the night deepened, so did the understanding between them. Yet beneath the warmth, Daniel carried a quiet fear. He worried that if Maya saw the small apartment he shared with Lily, the mismatched furniture, the tight budget, she might realize that his gesture tonight was just that, a gesture, not a promise of a life without struggle. He didn't want to build something on illusion. A week later, he invited her to meet Lily at the park. It was a bigger step than the dinner had been. Anyone could pay for a meal once. Letting someone into your child's world was different. It was sacred. Maya arrived with a small kite she had found on sale and spent the previous evening decorating with hand-drawn stars. Lily's eyes lit up as if Christmas had come early. Daniel watched from a distance as the two of them ran across the grass, laughing when the kite dipped and cheering when it finally caught the wind. In that moment, he saw something he hadn't allowed himself to imagine, a future where Lily had another woman in her life who wasn't there to replace her mother, but to add more love to her world. The challenges didn't disappear overnight. Maya still worked long shifts. Daniel still calculated expenses carefully. There were arguments about schedules, about exhaustion, about whether they were moving too fast. There were nights when Maya felt guilty for wanting something for herself beyond responsibility. There were mornings when Daniel wondered if he was selfish for opening his heart again when his daughter had already endured so much loss. But each time doubt crept in, they returned to that first honest moment at the restaurant, the moment when she admitted she couldn't afford the date, and he answered not with pride or pity, but with partnership. Months passed. Maya's brother graduated high school and received a small scholarship. Daniel helped him fill out financial aid forms, staying up late at the kitchen table while Maya made tea and pretended not to cry from relief. Lily began calling Maya when she had good news from school. The apartment that once felt cramped began to feel like a place where laughter echoed longer than worry. One evening, nearly a year after that first dinner, Daniel brought Maya back to the same restaurant. This time, there was no tension in her hands when she opened the menu. She had received a promotion at work, modest but meaningful. She insisted on contributing, and Daniel let her, not because he needed the money, but because partnership meant sharing both burdens and victories. Before dessert arrived, Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out something small and simple. Not an extravagant diamond, not a grand spectacle, just a ring that represented everything they had built from honesty and courage. He told her that the night she said she couldn't afford the date, she had given him a gift far more valuable than money. She had shown him her truth, and in doing so, she had allowed him to show his. If this story is touching your heart, if you've ever felt unworthy of love because of your circumstances, or if someone's kindness changed your life in a quiet but powerful way, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps more stories of hope reach the people who need them most. And before we reach the end, I have a special request for you. Comment the word worthy below if you believe that no one's financial situation determines their value in love or life. Maya said yes that night, but her answer was not the most powerful part of the story. The most powerful part was the journey that led there. Two people who had been shaped by loss and responsibility chose not to hide their struggles. They chose transparency over pride, generosity over ego, and patience over fear. Years later, Lily would tell her friends that her father fell in love because a woman was brave enough to admit she was scared of a dinner bill, and Maya would smile, knowing that what truly changed her life was not the meal itself, but the realization that she didn't have to carry everything alone. The restaurant still stands with its golden lights glowing softly at dusk. New couples sit by the window, whispering about their futures. Most will never know that at one of those tables, two weary souls once confronted their insecurities and found something stronger than embarrassment. They found partnership. Love didn't rescue them from hard work. It didn't erase grief or magically fill their bank accounts. What it did was far more meaningful. It gave them someone to stand beside when numbers didn't add up, when exhaustion felt overwhelming, when memories hurt. It gave them laughter in small kitchens, shared glances over grocery lists, and the courage to believe that being honest about your limitations is sometimes the bravest thing you can do, and perhaps that is the real miracle in this story. Not a grand romantic gesture, not a dramatic rescue, but a simple, stunning answer to a vulnerable confession. A reminder that when someone says they can't afford something, they are often revealing a deeper fear, that they can't afford to be seen as less. Daniel's answer told Maya that she was never less. She was always enough. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of the power of empathy and second chances, don't forget to engage with this video and share your thoughts below. Your interaction helps keep stories of kindness alive, and you never know whose heart might need to hear this one today. Because sometimes, the most life-changing words are spoken softly across a dinner table, and sometimes, love begins the moment we stop pretending we have it all together.